everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candice Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer today. I hope you guys are doing well and your week is off to a great start. I want to get a little bit of a jump start actually on talking to you guys about this incoming full moon that we're going to be having in the sign of Capricorn. If you're new to my channel and you like my content, make sure you click the button below and you're subscribed. Also, drop me a comment below. I'd love to hear from you, especially if you're a first-time viewer or if you're a new subscriber, or if you just want to say hello and give me your feedback on this lunation. I'd love to hear from you guys. I really appreciate your comments, your likes, your shares. It's really helpful for the channel in interacting with this video and helping get this into the algorithm on YouTube. All right, guys, so we've got a full moon that's going to be coming in, and it's going to be taking place on July the 3rd, 2023. Now, I know you guys are in different time zones, but specifically it's going to be at 4:38 a.m. Pacific time, and that is going to be 7:38 a.m. Eastern time on the 3rd, just in time right around the 4th of July holiday here in the States, and it will be at 11 degrees of Capricorn. So if you have any personal planets from about 10 to 12 degrees of Capricorn, sun, moon, rising, or a personal planet there, pay attention because a full moon can create some kind of completion event, right? Sometimes full moons are things that we've been working towards really for the better part of 6 months since the last new moon that we had in this sign. So it might be beneficial for you guys to think back to right around December 23rd of 2022. That's when we had a new moon in Capricorn at 1 degrees of Capricorn. So really it's been building towards this for 6 months time, and now it's coming to a completion. But also, you know, we had a new moon not too long ago. We had that new moon that took place in the sign of Gemini, and now we're moving into a full moon. So these lunations happen roughly every 2 weeks, every 14 days, and it's a part of like a cycle, right, of things that we're kind of working through. Now, a full moon in general, this is the phase where there's like an illumination basically taking place from the perspective of Earth. And really what it does is it talks a lot about completions, things becoming bigger, feeling fuller, some kind of climax. So completion and fulfillment is a huge theme when we have full moons. It's about, you know, completing a cycle. It represents like peak energy and signifies that something has reached its fullest potential. So accomplishments are probably going to be a big theme, especially with the sign of Capricorn. And we start to see our intentions kind of finally unfold. Now, full moons also bring opportunities for illumination and awareness. So be mindful that, you know, moons in general, depending on the sign is kind of the flavor and how that moon is expressed. This will basically illuminate the sky, bringing a sense of heightened awareness to Capricorn topics or whichever house Capricorn happens to be in your natal chart. So it is possible that there is increased emotions and spiritual awareness that can come up during this time, including just more feelings, right? Because the moon is connected to our deep emotions and our emotional sensitivities. It's not unusual for there to be an amplification of our feelings, and it just feels more visible and more palpable. But it can also offer us an opportunity for emotional release, okay? So think when the sign of Capricorn, you know, the moon obviously is not as comfortable in this sign because it's in a Saturn-based sign. So many of us might feel like we're going to be needing to do a lot of emotional work. It may not necessarily be all revolving around our career, but it can feel like there is this emotional upheaval or this sense that we're needing to kind of, you know, really work harder to move through some of these feelings or some of these domestic changes that are taking place, offering us the opportunity for release, healing, and also self-reflection. Full moons are transformative times. So if you want to let go of something, if you want to quit a bad habit, if it's time to kind of wrap something up like a project or a job or a relationship, it's natural for these things to be kind of aligning round about the day before, the day of, or the day after in regards to a full moon. You know, setting intentions are great, but this is generally something that we want to do more around the time of a new moon. So this is more about wrapping things up. So you want to look at where Capricorn is in your chart because this is something you've been working on for about 6 months now. And then finally, it's about connection, you know, manifestation, abundance. We can bring all of the missing parts together, right? We can find those missing puzzle pieces during a full moon. It does have a unifying effect sometimes, because I think full moons are about interconnectedness, and all of us kind of needing to come together and needing to gather. So it's not unusual that we see big parties, celebrations, and for, tons of years we've been, ritualizing full moons for this very purpose, because it's about a shared collective experience. And so this serves as a reminder of our connection to the natural world and cycles of life. And this is really important with Capricorn, because even though Capricorn gets a bad rap for working a lot, in reality, Capricorn is associated with tradition. So it is also about ritual, and it is about honoring the old ways. In my opinion, Capricorn has a very strong connection to themes involving ritual and witchcraft, if that's what you want to call it. But yeah, full moons in Capricorn are a really great time to be able to kind of get back to basics and do something to ritualize and get into the flow of some of these energies of the universe. And manifestation and abundance is a big thing, because with the moon growing full, energies are high. So we can work with those energies. The full moon is considered a powerful time to manifest desires and attract abundance. And it's believed that it heightens energy during this phase that can support our manifestational goals, really help support our intentions. So if you practice something like visualization, affirmation, manifestation, working with rituals or herbs or crystals or meditation, the energies can be really great to work with during a full moon in general. Now, I have to be honest with you guys, right? I think a lot of people hear full moon in Capricorn and they're like, oh, what am I going to have to work on? But I love the aspects of this moon. This is one of I think really this is one of the full moons that I like the most thus far in 2023. So as you guys know, I don't really follow that cookie cutter textbook astrology. That's just not my jam. I don't believe all new and full moons are created equal. I'm really going to dive deep and look at the aspects to talk about whether or not it is a good or not so good period to be really exercising the qualities of that particular sign. So where maybe in this last month when we had a new moon in Gemini, which has been a little confusing, a lot of us have been feeling like we're swimming in the cosmic soup, lots of confusion, and quite frankly, not being able to see or hear so clearly. This offers us some support in the midst of this. So the Capricorn full moon is going to give us opportunities for growth. It's going to give us opportunities for abundance. It's going to give us opportunities also for good luck. So I'm sure a lot of Cappies are going to be rejoicing in hearing this statement. And what really separates a good or a bad new or full moon, first of all, good and bad is all relative, okay? So everybody's going to have their own perspective, but it really comes down to aspects. Aspects is what's going to determine whether or not we're going to see good results or some not so great results during the lunation. So I'll get into the specific aspects of this, but just know, I do think it's one of the more beneficial full moons that we've seen thus far. It only took 6 months to get there, right? All right, so let's talk a little bit about Capricorn. So Capricorn and themes that come up for me when I think about Capricorn, the 10th sign of the zodiac, right? The goat or the sea goat, associated with the top or the midheaven. Capricorn is a cardinal earth sign, which basically means it's active. Cardinal signs like to do things, they initiate things. These are the signs that usher in the various seasons. So Capricorn traditionally, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, is kind of like the beginning of winter, right? It initiates winter. And it's where it kind of gets the torch passed from Sagittarius. Earth signs are grounded, practical, right? They're about health and wealth and physicality, but it can also be about food. It can be about resources. It can be about building. And Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So some themes that come up for me for Capricorn is structure, because Capricorns thrive in having organized and structured environments. They prefer clear plans and systems that help really navigate their pursuits. So timing and schedules are a huge thing when it comes to Capricorn and Capricorn full moons. Likely there are events taking place that you've been working on or building towards all year long, and it's been a slow and steady process getting to this point. Now, Capricorns are known for being very practical because they have a practical mindset and they tend to approach situations and problems from a very pragmatic and realistic manner. So this is a great full moon for being like, okay, let's take the necessary practical steps forward to be able to complete some kind of goal. It can be professional, financial, or even in your relationships. Capricorns are also very associated with Saturn. So a big theme is going to be authority. And when I say authority, I don't just mean like your boss, your parents, or, you know, the cop that's hanging out by the stop sign, stopping people. It's more about authority in your own life, not necessarily just out into the world. So Capricorn energy is about leadership qualities, and it's about possessing a natural inclination towards positions of authority and responsibility. So also in your own life, what are you taking responsibility for? Where are you showing up? Where are you getting out of bed early, staying a little bit later, putting in the extra time, putting in the extra effort, and really dedicating yourself to a particular goal or theme in regards to this full moon? They're known as being traditional, kind of touched on that, because they do have a connection to tradition and they respect established norms and values. And they adhere to time-tested methods. So it's not unusual during a full moon in Capricorn that there is a reevaluation of what have we always done, right? Do we continue in this fashion? There can be an evaluation of, is it time to integrate new things? Do we try new schedules? Do we try new jobs? Or do we kind of stick to what we know and where we're comfortable? Now, wisdom is a huge theme with Capricorn because I feel like it's about that connection to Saturn and the wisdom that you have throughout your life experience and the ability to make sound judgments and decisions. So themes revolving around a Capricorn full moon might be about making decisions about big life things, especially the axis of Cancer in Capricorn. We could not have a Capricorn full moon without the sun being in Cancer. And here in the Northern Hemisphere, we just recently moved into summertime. So we're seeing the sun and Mercury and other planets kind of dance through Cancer. What this is basically doing is it's highlighting the dynamic between home, which is Cancer, moon, or family, or our domestic needs, our emotional needs, and that of our responsibility out in the world. So it's not unusual during full moons that we see that we're kind of getting pulled in two different directions, or that actions happening in two separate areas of our chart are highlighting the need to really complete something to find better balance. So you might find that there is some kind of wisdom that comes throughout this process. Maybe we're gaining wisdom in regards to our career or our families, or we're connecting with our relatives, or even some of our elders to be able to kind of better guide us, especially with a Capricorn moon. At least in my opinion, I've always noticed right around that time, I always have like some kind of connection with an elderly relative, a grandparent. There's definitely a lot of hearing from like a mentor or talking to somebody about my business plans. And so it can manifest quite literally as an older female that kind of steps in, that's like a crone type energy, that somehow plays a role in whatever you are working on or completing. Now, perseverance is also a big thing, right? They don't call them the goat for nothing. Capricorns are known for their ability to persist and overcome challenges, try again. They definitely possess a strong work ethic, and they have the willingness to put in the effort required to achieve their ambitions. So 10th house, MC, right? The midheaven, which is traditionally associated with Capricorn, is about climbing the mountain. Once you get to that point, you're looking over everything, and then it peaks into Aquarius where you evaluate your goals. So many people will be experiencing a situation revolving around goal fulfillment, or reaching their goals, or, you know, their ambitions becoming like larger than life. And then obviously achievement. So it can be about achieving your outcome, you know, your desired outcome, getting recognition, and striving to make tangible progress and attain success in regards to the house that this particular full moon is going to be in. Now, I know some of you guys are new to astrology. Sometimes this sounds kind of complex, but essentially where I feel like modern day astrology, or astrologers who are teaching you guys, at least on YouTube, how to work with astrology can be beneficial, is learning that it's not all about your sun sign. And I hate to be that person, but it's not just I'm a Capricorn, you're a Gemini, we have nothing in common. Astrology is made up of 12 signs and 12 houses and a handful of different planets. So you may be one sun sign, but you may be surprised when you cast your chart to find out that you have a bunch of other planets in another sign. So it's beneficial to get into the flow of like hearing the new and the full moon reports, or at least listening to your horoscope for your ascendant, realizing that planets can be going through signs that have nothing to do with your big three, but they can definitely be making some things go on in your life. So, you know, for me, it's always beneficial to listen to your ascendant sign. That's what I'm always going to recommend to my listeners and also to my clients, because I work with zodiacal order. So you want to take a look at your natal chart. If you don't have one, go onto astro.com or another online chart calculator. You can put in your time, birth, date, and location. Make sure you put the AM or the PM and you cast the chart. You're going to want to look at the 9 o'clock hour. That's your ascendant. And then you want to look from the ascendant and see which house is Capricorn. If you don't have any planets there, it doesn't matter. There's still something that's going to be kind of completing, right, in regards to this particular full moon. Now, you know, when I think about some of the major themes that I think are going to be taking place during this, it's like this combination of mixing Capricorn and the moon, which generally don't mesh, right? That's like saying, let's bring together moon and Saturn. Now, some moon-Saturn aspects can be beneficial, right? Like finding emotional security or stability, committing to something in regards to your home, building a home business, starting a family. These kinds of things can be moon-Saturn kind of themes. So the big takeaways are for this particular moon, ambition and goal setting. And I'll get into the aspects and talk about why, but I think that this is going to have lots of opportunity for ambition and desire for achievement. We've got aspects to Jupiter, which is going to make things bigger than usual. We've also got aspects that are going to be happening to Saturn, which is going to help us stabilize the direction and where we're going and moving forward. Now, career and public image themes are really big during this full moon, especially because the moon does have a tendency to deal with the collective. So all of us might be thinking a lot more about our public reputation and our career matters, and it's going to give some certain signs and some certain placements an opportunity for highlighted achievement and presenting opportunities for advancement and recognition. I think it will encourage everybody to focus a little bit more on responsibility and discipline, but not in a physical way always, right? Capricorn's physical, but Saturn is in a mutable water sign. So it is talking about kind of leaning in and paying attention to our responsibility cosmically, to the collective, right? To our dreams, to our emotional needs, and much more. And that also lends and kind of blends into more emotional stability. So I do think that that's what's going to be a huge theme with this particular full moon as well. And finding the balance between work and personal life. That's a big one. Capricorn's energy often emphasizes the importance of finding a balance between work and personal. During this full moon, like I said, you may feel the need to reassess your priorities to create healthier boundaries between your professional and your personal spheres. Finding harmony between your ambitions and your personal well-being becomes crucial. Now, any of you guys who have oppositions between your 4th and your 10th house, raise your hand. Even if it's not in Cancer or Capricorn, you know how this kind of back and forth works. And that's what I like about full moons, is that they're relational. We have an opposition, which is the element of Saturn. It means you must do this and that. And it feels like you're being stretched and you have to be able to adhere to 2 separate spheres in your life. But full moons can show us through contrast where we can find balance and actually see that there's a lot of similarities and also a lot of complementary factors in both sides of those signs. So I do think a lot of us are going to see some of this aspects in regards to this moon. Probably the big one is, first of all, there is no fixed star on the moon. So you guys know sometimes I talk about fixed stars, sometimes I don't. There's no fixed stars in the moon. However, there is a fixed star that is associated with the sun. And so like I said, you know, the sun and the moon oppose. That's the full moon. The sun can be more about our conscious things going on, right? It can be about our careers or our joy or our family, especially sun in Cancer, our emotional actions, our domestic needs. And then the moon is going to be more about where our mind is on, you know, limitation and focus and being out in the world and being committed to things. I always laugh because I have this dynamic in my natal horoscope. And for me, it's a lot of like, suck it up, get the work done. That's my Capricorn stellium in the 4th house. So I see the polarity and where they can be supporting each other, but also when those get out of whack, you can kind of feel like you're being kind of like lobbed into one particular area and the other area of your life is kind of like lacking. So I would say pay attention to the lack. The fixed star that is at 11 degrees of Cancer, so this is where the sun is, not the moon, is a fixed star that's called Alizir. It's A-L-I-Z-I-R. I'm pretty sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. Essentially, this is a challenging star. So, and it's exact, it's at 11 degrees. This basically is the feet of Gemini. So it's as we're kind of moving into the constellation of Cancer, and it has the influence of Mercury and also Venus. This particular like star has connections with trouble and disgrace, sickness, loss of fortune, affliction, and danger to the knees. Kabbalists say that it's associated with a specific Hebrew letter, that of the 19th tarot trump, the sun. And in astrology, the sun is in Leo, not in Gemini. The tarot takes into account the fact that Gemini ends with the longest days, hence the fact that it is the triumph of light. Also, the sun in Gemini is essentially life-giving, opposed to that of the lion, which dries things up. So, interesting that it has that connection to the sun, right? Because the sun is in a lunar sign. So it's really talking about, I think, shining a light on the fact that we have emotional things going on. I think it's also talking about the sickness and the loss of fortune can be discussing where, you know, through changes or completions that are going on at work, it can be creating some challenges at home or on the domestic kind of, you know, sphere. Issues and afflictions in regards to health and the knees, that's also very Saturn. So I don't know if that's something that's necessarily going to apply to everyone. Maybe if you're having a Saturn square, I could see that. But that's just the fixed sign, right? That's really the only challenge that I see in regards to this. I could see it as a situation where, you know, people are having job changes and it's affecting their home and they're realizing, okay, if I'm having a job change, I'm working less, I'm changing jobs, I have to transfer. How am I going to be able to take care of my home and my family needs? Am I not going to be home as much with my children? Do I have to kind of pick up and relocate and find a new place to live? So those things can come up. And we see a very slight square between the moon and Chiron. And Chiron in Aries at 19, so it's about healing in regards to self and body. And so this creates a bit of a T-square, huh? But it makes Chiron the focal point. So it can be saying wounding coming up on a personal level, physical needs for healing, interfering with work and also with family. I wonder if this is going to be also themes revolving around the needs that our family has. You know, do we have a sick kid at home? Do we have a parent that needs to, you know, be taken to, you know, a doctor's appointment? And is it interfering with your ability to go to work? And are you having to kind of leave on your lunch hour to go and take care of domestic related things? And the impact that it has on you on a personal level, where you're feeling like the Lone Ranger that's just kind of taking care of everything, right? Obviously, that's very general. It's going to depend on your own personal chart. That's really the only nitpicking that I have in regards to this. I'm going to take you guys through the list of aspects now, and then I'll read you the Sabian symbol. But like I said, you know, Saturn being the ruler of Capricorn, just this week, Saturn started its retrograde in the sign of Pisces. So Saturn's going to stay in Pisces all year long in 2023. It's going to be in Pisces for about 2.5, almost 3 years. So we will see Saturn retrograde from 7 degrees back to 0. But right now, as Saturn is retrograde, many of us are being given the opportunity to kind of see now very clearly, like, where are we not as committed? Where do we need to make changes when it comes to our rules, regulations, limitations? Do we need to let certain things go? Do we need to be better about kind of bulking up our defenses and kind of getting more so grounded? having Saturn in a Pisces, Neptunian-based sign is not easy. Kind of feels like things are dissolving and it's hard for us to get a firm grasp on reality and make plans for the future. It's also kind of like a gloomy feeling. A lot of people are really kind of feeling the heaviness of the moon, the mood with this particular transit. I believe that working with Saturn retrograde gives us the opportunity to see all of the holes in things right now and where we need to go back and be better and make adjustments and make changes. We do that while planets are retrograde. The only hang up here is that with a Saturn retrograde, we can kind of feel things ease up and go, okay, I don't need to be doing the work. And I would say, no, we want to be working 3 times harder. So that way, when Saturn goes direct, we're really going to reap the rewards of that particular planet going direct. Well, there's lots of positive aspects to Saturn. We've got both the moon sextile Saturn, and we've got the sun trine Saturn. So because Saturn is the ruler and it's retrograde, I feel like this is going to be a lunation where we need to go back over things. We need to go back and reflect on something. Saturn's at a 7, so we're reflecting on relationships, we're reflecting on love, we're reflecting on partnerships and harmony, we're reflecting on resources. So some of us may go back and think about our relationships. Some of us may go back to therapists or go back to therapy. Some of us might return back to school, return back to church, return back to spiritual practices. These are all kind of a combination between 7, which is a Libra degree, and Pisces. And when we have this sextile between the moon and Saturn, this is what we call a lazy energy. Sextiles are the energy or the essence of Venus. They are what I call lazy aspects, 60 degrees. It means that you have to do a little action here to reap the rewards. And you'd never think of the moon as like an action planet, but the moon actually moves faster than any other planet when we look at astrology. So the moon and Mars for me can be triggers for action. So as the full moon is coming in, the moon is coming towards and making an aspect with Saturn. This tells me that it's giving us the opportunity, I think, to really reevaluate our emotional needs and our emotional boundaries. That can be when it comes to our dreams or when it comes to our professional life, and whether or not we're doing our due diligence energetically, emotionally, spiritually, collectively, to be kind of clearing up some karma, right? Saturn is associated with karma, and Saturn is in the 12th sign of the zodiac. So a lot of us are doing some karmic cleanup in our life in some way. Now, we also have Saturn, which is in a sextile to Jupiter. And this is something I talked about in my astro weather. This is really, really significant in my mind. We're going to see this sextile happening really the immediate next month, and we'll pick it up a little bit later this year. If you're going by whole sign standards, really Jupiter and Saturn are going to be within range of a sextile for the rest of 2023. We begin to lose it next year, and then Saturn is going to start actually receiving a square when Jupiter goes into the sign of Gemini. If you guys think back, right, with the Saturn-Jupiter cycle, the last time we had Saturn and Jupiter in conjunction was in the, it was winter solstice, I think, of 2020. So we saw Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius come into conjunction at 0 degrees. So they started this new conjunction point about expansion and also restriction, and where we can expand as long as we do it in a professional manner, or we have some kind of goal or really committed to our goals. So we saw a little bit of like a sweet and salty aspect there. So I would encourage everybody to think back to what was being seeded in your life at the end of 2020. What big changes did you make, right? What was going on? It could be also about collective limitation. And, you know, while we were in the tail end of 2020, we were in the midst of lockdown. So we did see that the world, or I guess the masses, Aquarius, were locked down. And the question is, what did you do with that time? What did you do with that time? Because now something exciting is happening. We're getting ready to see Jupiter come into a sextile. It's happening. It started happening this week with Saturn. So where Saturn is old ways, tradition, what we've always done, rules, regulations, bosses, you know, kind of like, it feels like suppression. Jupiter is like, no, we want to be free. We want to party. We want to grow. We want to have new opportunities. We want to share and travel. And it's very opposite of the energy of Saturn. So here we have the first positive aspect since that conjunction. Now, almost what, 2.5 years later. You want to make the most of this aspect, guys, because really what it's saying, as we have a sextile and then another sextile, is that this full moon is going to prompt events where you have to take responsibility. Responsibility for what? For really committing to your dreams and your desires and your visions, and for what you're hoping to actually actively clear out. But you have to reflect and review on what that is. Then with Saturn in a sextile to Jupiter, it's essentially saying, if we go back over our plans for growth and we make adjustments and we review, it is possible to have more abundance. It is possible to have more freedom. It is possible to travel more, possess more, enjoy life more, right? And we can actually see tangible physical results, whether that's food in a garden, money in a bank account, or just better self-esteem. Honestly, Taurus, you hear so much about the physical side of Taurus, but it can be about having pleasure and having ease and taking your time and slowly getting, into life and taking time to really stop and smell the roses. So it can be about creature comforts, quite honestly. It doesn't always have to be about physical, tangible things. Now, that sextile between, the Saturn and the moon means that then the sun is in a trine to Saturn. Okay, so now we've got the sun in Cancer, which is a cardinal water sign, trining Saturn in Pisces. So what this means is that we're going back and reflecting on our past home or emotional needs. Trines, right, are the energy of Jupiter. So they're free flowing, it's expansive. Okay, you got Saturn retrograde, it's in a trine with the sun. I don't think this is the most physical kind of manifestational period with that trine. I think it's more about getting in touch with our emotions and reflecting on our emotional needs. Water trines do present with a lot of intuition and psychic visions and dreams and feeling and the emotional clearing that can kind of take place. So we've got a lot of earth to water, earth to water, earth to water sextiles. And what happens when we take earth and water and we put them together? It creates mud. But mud can solidify and it can turn into concrete, right? And then we can kind of build. And water can also cut through earth and stone if something is too rigid and it's too blocked, which I think is really cool to kind of have that Capricorn moon, which can be a little bit more icy. With all of these planets that are in water aspects that are saying like, no, we have to be emotionally committed. And if we're doing our due diligence on an emotional level, we can actually see that being a little bit more committed can be a good thing. And we can use our intuition and our emotions in a very positive and practical way, right? So with that moon sextile Saturn, maturity and emotional growth, we've got the sun in conjunction with Mercury. So there's a heart-mind connection that's going on. Mercury is under the beam of the sun. So basically Mercury at 14 and the sun at 11 means that Mercury is a little too close to the sun. It feels a little mind on fire, right? There is a sense of not always reaping the benefits of Mercury. We just recently came off of, you will see at the beginning of July, a Cazimi. So it looks like something around the end of June, July 1st-ish, there's some insight or conversation or something that comes up, and then we have the full moon. So there might be an awareness of emotions that plays a role in some of the decisions and the completions that come about during the time of this full moon. And then finally, we got Jupiter that's in a sextile with Mercury. I mean, it's like, these are really good aspects, but it's just peppered with a ton of sextiles, which means you got to do the work in Capricorn to complete something. You have to do the work also in Taurus to be willing to physically grow and tune in with your emotions. So some complex astrology for some of you guys that are new to this, but I think a lot of you will be able to kind of catch my drift. Whatever comes at the time of this full moon, it's really important to kind of go, I'm willing to do the work. And if it means that I'm going to achieve the desired results that I'm looking for, or maybe you're achieving them, then you're going to see a lot of things like transpire that are actually quite positive as a result of this lunation. Now, there's always like a bit of like a plot twist, okay? And I think the two plot twists that come up for me aspect-wise is the fact that we do have Pluto that has retrograded back into the sign of Capricorn. So obviously, I don't know about you guys, but every time Pluto's at this degree, I'm just like over it. I can feel it. I can feel the intensity. I know that that's Pluto quite literally knocking on my 4th house door, being like, hi, you need to clean this shit up. And I'm like, please go away. I don't want to buy what you're selling. I'm not answering the door. And many of us are going to be feeling like this for the better part of the next month or two. Pluto back in the sign of Capricorn, even though it's not conjunct the moon, we're feeling it. We know, and you guys will see, this is a full moon that's going to kick your ass on the back end. Within 48 hours, we see that moon come into conjunction with Pluto, and then it's going to move into Aquarius and square the nodes. So what does it mean? It means that there is some emotional change, drama, transformation, purging, something that is going to happen. And I want you guys to look for this right around the 4th of July. Emotional fireworks. Will the 4th of July and will America's birthday be overshadowed with what's probably going to be some major political drama? Possibly. So this will be really happening all morning on July 4th. So it's the next day that we're going to see that this is going to be setting up. And this will be the real last aspect that the moon is making in Capricorn, because it'll pick up a sextile to Neptune, which is just kind of like dreamy and tapped in, but it can also be about crime and what's hidden. And then it conjuncts Pluto, Lord of the Underworld, at 29 degrees. So pivotal turning points taking place in the sign of Capricorn. Moon hits 29, conjuncts Pluto, moves into Aquarius in the afternoon, immediately comes into a square at the nodes. Mark my words, it will not be the day of the full moon that you feel the shift hitting the fan. It will be the next day. So when you look around and go, whoa, I thought the full moon was over. No. My recommendation is to just be ready, because the second that the moon goes into the sign of Capricorn, it's going to immediately start picking up a trine to the North Node, to Jupiter, and to Uranus. So you're actually going to feel a lot of like, oh, things are building, stuff's stirring around. Where are we going? Are we getting our acts together? This will be on the 2nd. Trine the North Node, which is a positive aspect, by the way. Moon trine the North Node is basically saying we're taking action and doing what we need to do to build towards our future destiny. Moon trine Jupiter leading up to the North Node, leading up to the full moon, is also positive because it's expansive, emotional, exciting. But then the moon is going to hit the full moon degree at 11, which is a Uranian degree, by the way. So it means that it's like anything goes, or things are speeding up or breaking down or breaking apart. And then we're going to see the moon come into opposition with Mercury in the morning on the 3rd, when we're all awake, going into the afternoon. And it's like we're not emotionally able to connect. Square Chiron. Hours later, man, and then it's going to come into conjunction with Pluto. So the 3rd and the 4th are just like, just put on your helmet and be ready for whatever's potentially kind of cropping up, because it's definitely going to be a full moon that's just going to keep giving, right? It's just going to keep giving it to you. Okay, so we talked about all the trines and the sextiles. We talked also about the slight trine to the North Node. You know, the good thing is like we want to see the sun and the moon in harmony. If we see the sun and the moon in harmony during a full moon, it's going to be easier to navigate, because we're already seeing the opposition as having to kind of like look at two sides of a situation. But the moon trines out, the moon sextiles its own ruler, the sun trines out, and then the sun sextiles as well. So in that sense, it's a pretty damn good full moon. Yeah, you got to watch out, because we do have Venus square Uranus. And I think that's really the biggest hang up for me. Because, you know, we've got Venus that wants harmony. It wants love. It wants resources. It wants romance. And it wants to play in the sign of Leo. It wants to take chances. And it really wants attention. And Venus in a square to Uranus in the sign of Taurus tells me that there's going to definitely be some friction in relationships. Now, Venus can represent women. It can be about femininity. So Venus in the sign of the 5th house can be about drama involving like female performers, female actresses, especially in the sign of Leo, and some kind of like financial thing that, you know, kind of like pops up. We do have in this, you know, Venus is hanging out, how many is that away? 8 houses away from this particular full moon. So to have Venus 8th house to the moon and 2nd house to the sun makes me feel like there's going to be some financial drama. You know, what happens when we see a square between Venus and Uranus? People break up. We see lots of financial fluctuations, ups and downs. Venus is in the sign also that does deal with the stock market and anything in regards to trading or betting or taking chances. And Uranus is about destabilizing up and down and some kind of freedom. So I think that there is possibly going to be, yeah, just some drama and some friction in relationships. Nothing that you guys have not already noticed since we've had a lot of transits with Venus. As she moved into Leo, she opposed Pluto. She squared the nodes. She squared Jupiter. Then she squared Uranus. And that's actually taking place just leading up to the full moon. If you see here, Venus is at 22. So she's already come out of the square. So likely it's things that were happening in early July. And then it reaches like this like breaking point. But this is in a Capricorn degree, 22. Okay. And Uranus is almost there. So it's interesting to see that because it makes me wonder if there's going to be some statements or comments, you know, from the Federal Reserve, if we're going to hear more about what's going on with the stock market and with interest rates. Generally, when the moon is in Capricorn, we're hearing that, you know, political figures are making statements or the government's coming out and talking about borders, limitations, laws, regulations, some of their intentions. Now, in the back of my mind, I know that the second half of July, when we have the North and the South node move into Aries and Libra, the sun will be further in the sign of Cancer, and the sun will oppose Pluto. And one thing I keep saying is at the end of July is a crisis point, and likely we're going to see some major political theater. People are going to be asking a leader to step down because there's going to be a huge scandal. And with Saturn retrograde, it means that we are now starting to review and revisit things from the past involving politics, right? Because Saturn rules like government officials, and things that are hidden or behind the scenes. Now, I don't live in the UK, but something that I heard recently that was really interesting was like a leaked video that apparently came out from the winter of 2020, where apparently there was like a bunch of people who were high up in government who were recorded laughing and making jokes, talking about the fact that they were having a party in the midst of some very strict lockdowns in the UK. This could not be more bang on with the astrology. We've got you know, Pisces ruling video, Saturn retrograde, which is reevaluating things that were hidden that now become visible during lockdowns, Saturn and Pisces, pandemics, right? Viruses is connected to Pisces, where Neptune happens to be, and now it's all starting to come out. So mark my words, this is the beginning of more of this stuff coming out. And if this does not infuriate you, it should, because this is kind of showing where certain people high in government or in society are doing some very shitty Pluto-related things where there's crimes going on, secrets going on, them thinking that they have more power than the people. While we were locked in our homes, told we couldn't go anywhere, some of us were facing major financial issues, having problems being cooped up in our home, trying to take care of our families, being kept from our loved ones. I don't live in the UK, like I said, but a lot of the same draconian measures were taking place here in the United States, and it has had a huge impact on our ability to connect with our elders, right? Saturn is about elders. So how has this impacted older people in society, and how has that disrupted our relationships with some of the people who we need to be hearing from the most, who can be giving us really great feedback and insight because they've lived through some similar experiences in their lifetime, and they are more likely to be the people who are going to be standing up and talking about not allowing history to repeat itself. So in honor of a full moon in Capricorn, I think one of the best things you can do is like have a conversation with somebody who's older and wiser than you. Get feedback, allow them to talk to you about where you can really make strides, not only to just be a better person, but also to be a better member out in society, to be more aware of what's going on in regards to some of these rules and regulations in the world, and to be better informed. That way you can, stand up for the rights of yourself as well as other people. Pluto's going to be in this 29 degrees for a while. So, we're going to see this off and on between now and the end of 2024. So really watch for that Moon-Pluto conjunction, because that's when you're going to see the sparks flying. And also, guys, I know you don't need me to tell you this, but like a Mars square Uranus during the 4th of July sounds a lot like people are going to have some really messy situations with fireworks. I've seen several different 4th of Julys with this aspect now. And every single time it happens, I hear some crazy situation about somebody blowing something up, somebody getting really hurt with fireworks, some significant person. I think it was a year or two ago, it was like a famous hockey player, or somebody who was a younger hockey player, but he was like a pro player, I believe, that got injured with fireworks. Fire, right? Mars, anything that's got heat, anything that's sharp. Uranus, explosives. So you guys want to be mindful that this is a part of the full moon, okay? The Mars square Uranus is explosive financial situations, explosive bursts of anger, explosive interactions, especially. There's going to be some real drama when it comes to romantic relationships. So just keep an eye on some of that stuff that is kind of hiding in the background. Even though Mars and Venus don't really have any affiliation whatsoever with this particular moon, that factor with the full moon could definitely create some challenges in certain relationships where certain people call it quits. That's not unusual. Ways to work with this particular moon, some ritual recommendations that I would make. If you're into stones or crystals, or if you're a rock hound, I would recommend garnet, onyx, or smoky quartz. Sometimes I like using snowflake obsidian and something else that can be great for working with Capricorn. Herbs would be yarrow, comfrey, and mullein. And because Saturn is in Pisces and it's retrograde, some kind of combination of water and earth can be great. So, steaming some herbs, throwing it into a bath, taking a bath. Making a tea, right? Or going and doing some gardening and setting intentions and watering your garden. Go and cleanse all of your crystals. This can be a wonderful time to do that with the sextiles to Saturn, because Saturn can be banishing and it can be clearing things. Jupiter can be bringing in the positive energy. So if you have certain crystals you like to work with on your altar, or for like abundance or other things, keep in mind, not all crystals can be put in the sun, okay? Some will fade. You need to know what you're working with. And some crystals also will dissolve, especially selenite. Don't be putting selenite in water. But most other crystals that aren't going to rust, if you're working with like quartz and other things, you can put them in some salt water, set them out in a crystal or a glass bowl, let them be outside for a little bit, either in the evening or in the morning of the full moon, and then bring them inside. But this is what I would recommend actually doing during this particular full moon. All right, so let me read you guys the Sabian symbol before I forget. And then, as always, I'll take you through the 12 rising signs, and we'll talk a little bit about my predictions for you guys. And we'll pull some tarot as well. Those of you guys who don't have the Sabian symbols, a screen of prophecy, you can actually pick it up if you click my Amazon link below. Not many people know I have an Amazon recommended list for all of the books I talk about on the channel, some of the decks that I work with, as well as a Saturn in Pisces survival guide. So I actually put all the stuff that I work with, that I use during Saturn in Pisces, so many cool little like health things. And I actually did a video on it. So if you guys want to go and check out my Saturn in Pisces video, I talk about what the products are, because they've been really helpful for me as I've been going through this Saturn transit. All right, so because this is going to be at Capricorn 11, we are going to read Capricorn 12. Okay, so this is page 316. We round up because it is 11 degrees and 18 minutes. So because it's not exact, we read the next degree. All right, so Capricorn 12, a student of nature lecturing. The keyword is explanation and the theme is clarification. The symbol speaks to the education and to the expansion of knowledge through the sharing of experience. The image of a student of nature learning emphasizes the use of reason and imagination to overcome limitations and build self-confidence. The symbol can characterize both the speaker and the listener. On one hand, it can indicate a talent for teaching and sharing experiences in a meaningful way. On the other, it suggests sympathetic understanding and the ability to see life clearly through the eyes of others. At its positive, at its highest, the symbol represents analytical skills and the ability to profit from the experience of others. Watch for conceit and intellectual vanity. The accent is on expanding opportunities through education. Your greatest advantage lies in gathering information on the options and choices available to you. Take a new class, surf the net, visit a library, listen to others who are willing to share their experiences. Guard against being a know-it-all or giving the impression that you aren't interested in what others have to say. Stepping stones are teaching, education, enlightenment, instruction, tutoring, experience, interpretation, explanation, and clarification. Something that caught my eye and I wanted to stop like mid-paragraph, but I didn't, was this line. The image of a student of nature lecturing emphasizes the use of reason and imagination to overcome limitations and build self-confidence. To overcome limitations, right? And build self-confidence, Taurus. That is literal. That's cool. I really like that a lot, actually, because I feel like those of us who have been really working on building in those areas, and like so much of Saturn and Pisces has been about clearing the fogginess and getting clear about where we want to go and believing in ourselves and having a sense of faith and dedication and really showing up. And we're realizing that in order to do that, we can't really take the first steps forward until we're really building a healthy sense of confidence. I really like that a lot. I think that applies so beautifully. Well, I mean, expanding opportunities through education, okay? That's very Jupiter and Taurus. Expanding opportunities, right? How can we make more money? How can we have a more comfortable life? How can we get back down to basics? It's not just, oh, I need to take a 12-week course in order to get certified in this thing and now I have a new career. For some people who do that, that's wonderful. That's great. Jupiter and Taurus can bring quick courses. It can bring quick opportunity for money. But I actually think it's more playing along the lines of how can I simplify my life and how can I learn to do some things myself so I'm not as reliant, and how can I cut back a little bit in my self-sabotaging, in my zoning out, in my Netflixing, in my pot smoking, in my oversleeping. And if I took some of that time and I used it to be productive or to watch, do-it-yourself videos, right, to fix things around the house or to update things, if I use that to take a course or do something to develop new skills, how much money could I make? How much more free time could I have? Could I quit my job? That's really where the wheels start kind of turning for me. That's how I've been using this quite personally, because I feel like it's been a lot about me going like, okay, how can I be utilizing my free time better and like teaching myself things so I can become more self-sufficient? Because for me, becoming more self-sufficient is my personal perspective of wealth. Because the more you can do yourself, the less you're going to be reliant on the system, the less that you're going to have to be spending money for things that you can just do on your own. And it does bring this sense of gratification, right? Knowing that, hey, I did that. I taught myself how to do that. I didn't have to buy it. I didn't have to pay someone to do it. I taught myself how to do it. And this is what I grew, or this is what I created. And so I encourage you guys to think like that with this particular full moon. Yeah, it's going to take a little bit of work, but it's kind of worth it in the end when you think about it, right? All right, so let's get to the 12 rising signs. I want to talk to you guys about what this means. More specifically, I'm going to talk about which house the full moon is in. I'm going to talk a little bit about where Saturn is, because you need to know that, right? Because we're not just looking at the moon. We want to look at the ruler because he's in charge. And we're also going to take a look at the theme related to that with a tarot card prediction. Just organizing my notes here. Sorry, guys. Sometimes it gets all reformatted and it's all funky and my sun Mercury just starts freaking out. All right. So I'm going to be working with the Tarot of Prague. I felt like this is a very Capricornian deck. No affiliation. I just love Baba Studios. It's quite honestly some of the best quality tarot cards that I've ever come across. So if you guys haven't checked out their stuff, please do. And this is going to be my predictions for the 12 rising signs. Okay, so you can use the whole sign method and just listen for the house that Capricorn is in. If you are a Placidus user like me, no problem. Find 11 degrees Capricorn in your chart. All you got to do is see where that degree is. What house does that fall under? That's the house that you're going to have your full moon. You might have to listen to 2 particular signs to kind of get your answer, but you'll get the gist of it. If you want to listen to your progress chart as well, you can do that. I recommend listening to your rising, your sun, and then your moon sign. All of them will have a little bit of like cosmic goodies for you and some insight in terms of how this might play out in your life. So let me change this. Okay, so we're going to start first with Aries and Aries rising. What's going on, guys? How are you doing? This is going to be a full moon in Capricorn. That's going to be taking place in your natal 10th house, which is all going to be about your career, your public image, your public reputation, your responsibility. So those of you guys who aren't working or you're retired, this can just be about your responsibility out in the world or how people are seeing you. It can also be about your status, okay? So a full moon in this house can bring things like wrapping up jobs, retiring, taking a new job, getting a promotion, some big event going on at work, having a presentation. And at the time of this full moon, Saturn's in your 12th. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the sextile here. This is like, what are you finally showing the world that you've been working on behind the scenes, right? What big accomplishment are you having? Does it mean that you're working long hours behind the scenes? Maybe. It can also mean that there is some sense of you really reevaluating what you want from your career. Some of you guys are thinking about going back to school, completing a program. Some of you guys are looking into, working in a foreign place. Some of you guys are working in spirituality. You're working in the nonprofit world. You're working in psychological or medical or therapeutic places, right? Because of Saturn in the 12th. And something that I really like about this aspect is all of the trines to your second house. So it's kind of like big accomplishments, funnel energy into your second house, which can bring more resources, more building when it comes to your self-esteem, feeling really fulfilled in terms of what you're kind of putting out there, and perhaps even like the feedback that you're getting from others. Keep in mind, it is in opposition to this energy in Cancer. So while there's big things happening out in the world, there's a lot of action happening in your private space, with your home, with your family, with your parents, with your roommates, things like that. So part of the full moon, because the moon rules the 4th house, can mean there's something going on with a parent, or maybe you're sharing some bit of news with your family, or maybe there is some status change. Hey, I was single, now we're engaged, or guess what, everybody, we just bought a house, or we're going to be relocating, or we're expecting a child. Something like that can kind of be coming up in your life as well. All right, so let's take a look. Let's see what the cards have to say for you, Aries. All right, so the card that I got for you is the Two of Swords. This is about feeling a little bit like, do I do this or do I do that? You're feeling not stuck, but kind of like, I have to make a decision, okay? And Aries, for you guys, this is happening in a cardinal house or an angular house, all right? So especially any Aries, sun, moon, or rising, if you have anything around the 10 to 12 degrees, this is gonna be a little bit more active because it may be squaring you. But Two of Swords is like, feeling like you're at a crossroads, stuck making a decision, going back and forth. I think for some of you guys, it can mean like, do I stay in this particular job field? Do I make a change? Is it time for me to segue and do something different? Is it time for me to really focus on, being behind the camera rather than in front of it? Do I want to be running things from an office and telling other people what to do other than kind of being the face of this? So there is some sense of you kind of going back and forth about what your goals are when it comes to the future of your career and having an option or a choice in the matter. Good luck, Aries. For Taurus and Taurus rising, we have got a full moon taking place in the sign of Capricorn. Now this will be taking place in your natal 9th house, and it's in a fellow sister earth sign. So if you are a Taurus, sun, moon, or rising, especially anything from 10 to about 12 degrees, you will be experiencing a trine to your personal planets, which is harmonious, and you might see physical change or growth manifesting. Now, a full moon in your 9th house does look like you're going to be traveling, right? Or you are going somewhere. Maybe you're booking a trip. Maybe you're planning a trip. It may be somewhere a little bit further away. The 9th house is about philosophy and also your beliefs, education, publishing, legal things. So to have this happening in the 9th house, this is about like the bigger picture of life coming together. So you may go on a trip and realize this is what I want in my life. This is how I want my life to go. And you're feeling like something is kind of in alignment. If you're somebody who is wrapping up a program, getting ready to graduate, there might be a big like celebration revolving around that. And if you have been waiting to publish something or apply for a program, you might find that you're getting the green light on this pretty soon. Now, in general, the trines to your planets in Taurus are wonderful. So you play a role in whatever it is that's going on. And Taurus, Jupiter is in your sign, and this full moon is aligning with Jupiter, which basically means a little bit of positivity will get you a long way. I think a lot of it's going to be about how you look at things, how you look at life and navigating life right now. Yes, the moon in Capricorn basically means, hey, sometimes in order to make things happen, we have to mature, we have to grow up, we have to look at things seriously. But I do believe that the trine to Jupiter in your sign is saying, I'm taking it in stride, I'm learning, I'm appreciative of what I have, I'm growing, I am willing to take on the challenge, and I'm feeling more optimistic about what is possible, and that you can really handle whatever is going on. Now, the moon rules your natal 3rd house, which can be about travel, communications, cars, vehicles. The one thing that I would say during this particular full moon is that to me, it seems like there's going to be opportunities to have conversations that can be very enlightening. And whether it's a phone call you have with a sibling or a conversation you have with a neighbor, if you happen to find yourself on a road trip, you might be finding that you're having a really insightful conversation with somebody that really kind of opens things up and makes you realize like, hey, it is okay to communicate this way, think this way, what have you, okay? Let's see what the cards say for you. And that sextile to Saturn in your 11th house is also about having support from friends or like-minded people when it comes to some of the things that are transpiring. The card that I get for you is the 5 of Swords. So this is a card that deals with like learning when to like lay your weapons down, right? It's like sometimes it's not fighting the inevitable. Sometimes it's about watching your words and your communication, especially if you feel like you're hitting like a dead end and just nothing is like getting easier or getting better. If you find yourself in a situation like that, like I said, lean into the moon trine Jupiter, because I think it's going to have you realizing like, hey, not all things are necessarily going to go smoothly. We don't have to agree. I see lots of like philosophical conversations and difference of opinion that happen with some of these oppositions. And it is possible you can find yourself in the middle of a conversation where two people are kind of like coming from different ends of the perspective, and you just really want to leap in and give them, you know, your perspective on the matter. 5 of Swords also makes me feel like it's important to choose your words wisely and how you connect and communicate with other people, because there can be some people who take offense or they take things personally. But I do believe you have the opportunity to kind of like be like the mediator here with Jupiter in a trine. I have a feeling some of this is also coming from the fact that Mars and Venus are in your 4th house. So with, you know, Venus being in your 4th house, it's great for home, family, relationships. things of that nature. But Venus has recently been in a square with Uranus in your sign. So it does seem like there's been some friction or some tension going on the home front, maybe with family, maybe with a romantic partner, and it might be better to get out of the house. That will diffuse some of this energy. So literally going away for the weekend or doing something fun can kind of break up that static energy, create less conflict in regards to the home space, and allow you to kind of feel a little bit more bright and cheery, okay? So just watch your words, Taurus. Good luck with this full moon. We've got Gemini and Gemini rising. You're going to be experiencing a full moon in the sign of Capricorn. Now, Gemini, Capricorn is a sign that naturally quincunxes or in conjunct your sign, which means y'all don't have much in common. You're a mercurial sign. They are a Saturn-based sign where you need a little bit of like freedom to kind of flutter around and change your mind. Saturn and Capricorn energy does not really do that, okay? So especially if you're a Gemini sun, moon, or rising, anywhere from 10 to 12 degrees, this might create an uncomfortable energy with one of your particular placements or your ascendant, which can feel like a bit of a blind spot or something that's kind of rubbing you the wrong way. Now, a full moon taking place in your natal 8th house is transformative, first and foremost. The 8th house deals with other people's resources, loans, debts, joint resources with a partner. It can deal with inheritance. It can deal with taxes. It can also deal with like paying things off. So whenever we have any kind of new or full moon in these particular houses, they can be financial. It can represent a give and it can represent a take. Now, the good news is that you got the Sun and Mercury moving through your 2nd house, which is strong for making money, doing business, bringing things in, generating income. The 8th house, though, can be about where people are paying you and then you have to pay things off, or you're having to pay your bills, or maybe you're waiting for like a payment to come in. So there can be a lot of like transactional type things that can come in with this particular lunation, especially considering the moon rules your 2nd house. So it's kind of like money's coming in, money's going out. The moon's connection with your 2nd house can also be about self-esteem and security and whether or not there's something changing and transforming about whether or not you feel safe or secure in regards to a joint financial matter. But also in the sign of Capricorn can be relating to your career. And Saturn is in your 10th house at the time. Now, here's the deal. Saturn is used to 10th house energy. It functions better in that house than it does in any other house for the most part. I know that it can be kind of agitating for some of you gems because you're experiencing Saturn square, either your sun, moon, or your rising, and you just feel like it's just all work and no play. Here's where I start to see that change and transformation of how you look at your career really kind of paying off. Some of you guys might be really starting to see the physical financial rewards of the hard work that you've been putting in for the last several months. And maybe you're getting your final kind of bonus or like a major payout and you're like, whoa, like maybe I can make this happen. Maybe this is going to be a good direction for me in regards to my career. For other people, it can be the awareness that something has to change in regards to your career in order for you to make more money. But for the most part, I think a lot of the aspects with like Saturn in your 10th, the trines to your 2nd house, indicates the more that you're investing in yourself, in your own self-esteem, it's paving the way for you to be able to bring more money in. So it's all about how you look at changing and transforming your relationship with your resources and also your career. Let's take a look and see what the cards say. I would imagine the hours after this full moon, when the moon opposes Mercury, there can be a lot of like a bill coming in unexpectedly, or like your partner's like, hey, we've got to pay this thing off, or can I borrow some money? I get the 6 of Wands, which is a positive card. It means that you will be victorious regardless of what kind of crops up. If something's going on and you need somebody to spot you, you need some support, likely it'll happen. You'll be able to overcome the challenge. And if it's the other way around where, a partner's saying, hey, I need some cash, or I'm a little tight, can you spot me? You're going to be able to kind of have their back. 6 of Wands is a card that talks about regardless of what's on your path, you're able to overcome it and also celebrate something. So if anything, I think for you, this is more, oh, this is amazing. We paid our mortgage off, or, I got a raise, or I'm finally able to kind of, pay some of my credit cards down, or I'm able to kind of bring more resources in. and something that is going to encourage you to keep going when it comes to your financial and your professional growth. Good luck. So now we have Cancer and Cancer rising. You guys have to let me know how this goes. So this is a full moon taking place in the sign of Capricorn. It's going to be in your natal 7th house, which is all about relationships. Now, this is a big one for you, my Cancers, because you're ruled by the moon. So when we have full moons, y'all feel it. I've seen it personally go down. I'm in an annual perfection year, ruled by the moon. So I have really seen the effects of full moons pretty significantly the last 6 months. What can I say? I mean, you got a full moon in your 7th house. The moon rules your chart, so you've got you taking some kind of action in the 7th. The general consensus is when you see a full moon in the 7th house, there is some kind of event revolving around, you know, a relationship, and it can be relationship completion. For some people, it's separating and being like, this ain't working. For others, it can be shaking hands and going into like a business partnership, or it can be bringing on a new client. It can be showcasing a new product or something in regards to your storefront and what you sell or what you have in terms of services. The 7th house can be your marketplace, so it's not necessarily just about your relationships with other people. Capricorn is professional, so if it's not about your romantic relationships, it can be about your business partnerships and kind of agreeing to something or finding that you disagree. Here's where it gets kind of iffy. If you happen to have a Cancer, sun, moon, or rising, 10 to 12 degrees, it's going to be more impactful for you because it's going to be a direct opposition. And you're also going to have the sun and Mercury on your ascendant, which means on one hand, you have something to say, you're going to say it, you're going to wear your heart on your sleeve, right? Because Mercury's in Cancer. Mercury rules your 12th house of like the deep subconscious and things that can be self-undoing. And it also rules your 3rd house. So you need to be mindful that there can be a tendency to let fear run the show or project things onto other people, which can cause some strife in relationships. On the flip side, it can be you saying, hey, like, do you want to get together? Do we take the next steps forward? Do we talk about moving in together? Do we talk about opening a business? Do we sign a contract? That kind of stuff. For the most part, you know, it's some really great aspects. And I feel like the relationships that have been on the fritz, you already know, right? Because you've been feeling the North and the South node come into a square with Pluto. If the full moon doesn't show you any kind of drama, I'm not going to say it's a good sign, but it's an indication that you're aware of what's working and not working in your relationships, and you're probably good. If something gets kicked up the days evolving around the full moon, I would say you really want to pay attention, because the second half of this month, when the North node hits 29 of Aries, when the South node hits 29 of Libra, it will exactly square Pluto in your 7th house. And it's going to show you some kind of villain, right, or Plutonian, like underworld person in your life. It could be a boss, it could be a spouse, it could be a client. It's going to be somebody who's toxic and they got to go. And you'll start to see the day after the full moon on the 4th, some of that stuff kind of coming to your awareness. And that would be my warning. That's like, hey, like there's something here that kind of needs to be kind of worked out, right? The opposition also can be about you and a partner being on 2 different ends of the spectrum when it comes to home life dynamics and like what you want in terms of your home life and your relationship and your career and whether or not you guys are on the same page. The ruler Saturn is in the 9th house, so it can be for some people, hey, we've hit that point in the relationship, let's get engaged, let's get married, because the 9th house can be ceremonies. It can also be that you're talking about going on a vacation, traveling, going to somebody else's wedding, going to somebody else's graduation, and you meet someone. For single Cancers, it's definitely a time I would pay attention, especially if you're traveling or if you're taking courses or if you're at an airport. It may prompt that you meet somebody in the midst of these particular transits. Let's see what the cards say for you. I'm super curious because this could go one of 2 ways. Oh, I get the Hangman, which is Pisces. Okay, Saturn in the 9th. And I think really what this comes down to is like a wait and see process. You know, I've talked to a lot of Cancer risings the last 2 months, and I've noticed a trend that's a lot of like, well, it's not working, but it's not time to cut them out yet, right? It's not that bad. It's like, well, they do this, 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 and this, and they come and they go, or like they're not getting out of their patterns in terms of their relationships, but I don't want to cut them out yet. So some people may be holding on to a relationship and like not wanting to walk away or giving them more time, and like you're needing to really see if somebody or something changes. For others, it can be this feeling of, what do? I feel stuck. I don't know how to get back into dating. I don't know how to meet somebody again. I'm not open to it again. And so be careful with the hangman coming up, because it can be about being stuck in a state of suspension and not knowing to go left, right, up, down, otherwise. And I also think that it does deal with a sense of needing to look at things clearly, and being honest with yourself about whether or not you're sacrificing too much in a given situation, and if it's better kind of looking at things and going like, okay, I'm going to let this be until it can be a better balanced dynamic. Now, like I said, mark my words, watch what happens towards the end of July, because even if there isn't something that happens with this full moon, the end of the month is going to show you whether or not you and another person are on the same page, okay? Good luck, Cancer. For Leo and Leo rising, we have a full moon in Capricorn taking place in your natal 6th house. All right, so the 6th house is all about health, work, your office space, your routine, your habits. And full moons in the 6th house can bring up things like so-and-so quit in HR, we're changing offices, my schedule is changing, the dog's having some weird allergy reaction, we got to get him to the vet. It can be about needing to go to a doctor's appointment. It can be about getting some kind of health results back, that kind of stuff. The moon is the ruler of the 12th house in your chart. So this is interesting, because whenever you're dealing with like the 6th and the 12th house, these are very, dare I say, delicate houses. These are houses you can kind of see the imbalances in. And this is where the subconscious emotional challenges or hangups play out physically within your life. So if you've been struggling with something emotionally, it can manifest as illness or having an injury. It can also manifest as having some issues with people at work. You know, these Pluto retrograde energies in your 6th, and the moon being there, you might realize that you're having a tiff with somebody at work. It can also be about becoming aware of your own personal issues in regards to habits and things that need to be cleared out. So for a moon like this, I like the whole, oh, I've been on the healthy track for the last 6 months. I finally gave up overworking or smoking or eating this or that. I've been going to the gym, I'm seeing results. For other people though, if you haven't been doing that, what you'll see is like you'll finally get to a point where you kind of get sick of your own stuff and you're like, okay, this is the end of it. I have to actually make the change, because you'll feel it so intensely. Now, at the time of this full moon, you're going to have Saturn, which is the ruler, in your 8th house. And this can be about detoxing, sobriety, clearing things out, doing emotional work, doing therapy. So you're more aware and more mindful of how you are on a day-to-day basis. Once again, I've seen a lot of Leo risings that have been like, wow, I'm realizing that my issues that with my eating habits are actually tied more so to some emotional or psychological things. And I had this breakthrough in therapy, and I realized that this is why this is happening. Also, I've seen things play out where people are having some real challenges and issues overcoming and battling some addictions. And Saturn in the 8th house has been about detoxing and cleansing and purging, and that's actually helped them overcome some of these bad habits. You're right now with the Sun and Mercury in your 12th house, what you're going to be observing is that it's kind of like the preparatory period right before your birthday. So it's not unusual for signs to bug out and feel like certain things are coming to an end and they're clearing out right before their birthday time, because we got to clear the decks before we start over new. This is also happening in a sign that naturally quincunx or inconjuncts your sign. So Leo and Capricorn don't have much in common. They can rub each other the wrong way. It is like taking the energy of the Sun and Saturn, and the Sun is always going to be about happiness and joy, and Saturn teaches us it can't always be that way, right? We have to see a little bit of decline in order to appreciate when the Sun comes out. So sometimes we do have to deal with some health issues, some hang-ups, some delays, some challenges, some problems in the 6th house. And it wants you to address that and not allow that to affect the emotional body, okay? So think about ways that you can maybe make a commitment, or maybe, you know, get in and see your doctor, or a healer, or, you know, anything in regards to that. Specifically, Capricorn can deal with bones. It can deal with knees, teeth, skin, right? Because that's all Capricorn related things. So if you know you need to see the dentist, you might get a brutal awakening as to like, oh, I'm having problems, like I got to go and see somebody now. Or if you need to see a dermatologist, that can be coming up. Tummy issues are not unusual in this house as well, okay? So let's see what card comes up for you. Cancer, excuse me, Leo. All these Leos are like, hell no. I'm looking at the sun, sorry. Leo. Oh, I got the Star card. I couldn't think of a better card for you to get, actually. This is all about healing. Overcoming, collective healing, maybe a friend that kind of helps you with the process, being able to kind of realize like what's important, and what you need to be working on to actively heal and renew. This is also a card that is associated with Aquarius, right? Or Uranus. So I noticed that at the time, the moon is going to be making trines to Jupiter and Uranus. So I wonder if like right around the time that the moon is hitting around like 21, you're like, okay, I don't have a problem making that change or changing my schedule, or, you know, I don't mind working with like that new employee. Like there could be some shift that happens and you're like, I'm okay with it. It's good. Change can be good. Like, or that there can be healing opportunities through connecting with other people. So maybe it's a matter of taking a group class or going and working out or doing something with a friend. Good luck, Leo. For Virgo and Virgo rising, you're going to be experiencing a full moon in the sign of Capricorn. This will be taking place in your natal 5th house in a fellow sister Earth sign. So Virgo actually really benefits from this full moon because you've got action in Capricorn and action in Taurus. So if you have any Virgo sun, moon, or rising placements, really like 9 through 22 degrees, it's going to be beneficial. And then specifically that, you know, 10 through 12 degrees, that's particularly positive because you're going to pick up energy from Jupiter and also from the moon. Now, a full moon in your natal 5th house. What does it mean? Completions of matters of the heart. 5th house is joy, creativity, it's self-expression, it's having fun, it's dating, it's about children and younger people and taking chances. And so with Capricorn in your 5th house, you got to work hard to have fun, right? You got to make that commitment to making time for romance, making time for creativity. You got to carve it into your schedule. It helps also the fact that, you know, the moon is going to be in harmony to your ascendant. So it means that you may find that you're naturally aligning with a more creative, a more self-expressive type of energy. Like the energies are gonna like have an outlet basically during the full moon. So it was already beneficial on its own, but I look at the moon trine the ascendant, the sun sextile the ascendant, allowing you to connect with other people and be emotionally vulnerable. The trines from the 9th house of like travel and positivity and philosophy. You got a lot of things working in your favor. You know, I know Saturn in your 7th house for some of you guys has been a bit of like a bummer, and it maybe has felt like partnerships kind of starts and then, you know, they take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Some of you guys are having relationships with people at a distance. Some of you guys are healing from past relationship issues. Some of you guys are still trying to get out of relationships. Regardless of where you are on the spectrum, this full moon is actually really, really, really magical for your chart. And I like the fact that Saturn is in your 7th and the moon is sextiling, because this says that you may experience a situation where you finally realize like that, you know, you've had a breakthrough and you're loving yourself better, or you have an amazing date or romantic connection. Maybe some of you guys are going to find out you're pregnant. You know, a 5th house full moon can be that, especially when it is in a trine to the ascendant and also in a sextile to Saturn, in a trine to Jupiter. Some people will be falling in love, getting engaged, and other people are just realizing that they're ready to get back on the dating scene and they just meet somebody they really connect with. But for the most part, I see this being very beneficial for you, Virgo. The earth signs are going to produce physical change. And I'm wondering if this is like about your life kind of opening up and you're looking at themes of either travel or dating or romance as something that's very possible now. Now with Saturn retrograde in your 7th, you're reevaluating relationships and what you need in relationships. It can be a time where there is like an easing up effect that's taking place in some of your relationships, but it's up to you to maintain that sense of romance and creativity. And some of you guys, I think, might be traveling. I wonder if you're traveling and meeting somebody in a foreign land or meeting somebody in another place, or you go somewhere and then you just happen to have like a meet cute with somebody on the street somewhere. I mean, it's very possible with some of the aspects in this chart. All right, so let's take a look. Let's see what the cards say for you. Oh, I like it. I get the Page of Wands. Okay, so this is the Page of Wands. Younger, creative, playful energy. It is about trying something out, having a good time, being in the moment. You might find that fire signs play a role. So sometimes Aries, Leo, or Sagittarians kind of pop up with this aspect. But it can also just be about allowing yourself to play, right? The inner child coming out to play, 5th house full moon. It can be about children. Pages oftentimes represent children. So it can be saying that there is something going on with the younger fire sign. Maybe you're meeting somebody new, you're getting to know them, you're going out and you're doing something more active, something more fun. For the next few months, Mars and Venus are going to be in your 12th house. Well, at least Venus will. Mars is going to leave pretty soon. But those two together makes me feel like there's a lot of room for romance and connection and almost like this like fantasy thing that can kind of be playing out behind the scenes. So for many of you guys, I think it can be about allowing your fantasies to become real and like really being a part of that and like allowing yourself to have this fairy tale connection if you have potentially connected with someone. Okay. Good luck, Virgo. We've got Libra and Libra rising. What's going on, Libra? You're going to have a full moon taking place in your natal 4th house of home and roots and real estate and family. If you're a Libra rising, sun, moon, or rising, I guess I should say, from about 10 to 12 degrees, or if you have any personal placements in Libra, please pay attention because this is going to impact you. Now, what can I say about this? I mean, Libra, to an extent, because Chiron is in Aries and we're going to see that this full moon is going to slightly square Chiron, it's almost, including some of your Libra placements, it's almost creating a grand cardinal cross. So some of you guys are going to feel with the full moon the pressure in your relationships, pressure in your career, pressure when it comes to you. The good news is squares, they move quickly and they make things happen, okay? Now, the moon is at home in the 4th house. So the good news is that, hey, it's comfortable. It likes being there. Yes, it's in a Saturn-based sign. Okay, it is what it is. But it's bringing your attention to home matters. Full moons in the 4th house can be things like we're selling our house. We found where we want to live. We're putting an offer on, or a, signing an application for a lease. It can be about big things happening at home with the family. In particular, it's kind of weird because I generally see the mother through the 10th house and the father through the 4th house. But it can be either way with your chart because it's inverted. So you have Cancer in the 10th house and Capricorn in the 4th. So I would just keep an eye on like elderly relatives and parents in general because that can be coming up with this full moon. Some of you guys might find that there's a big event going on with the home, and Saturn is the ruler of your 4th house, and we've got Saturn in the 6th house. So with Saturn retrograde, it tells me that some of you guys are re-evaluating systems and organization and scheduling and maintenance of your home. Be mindful of like water issues, plumbing issues. Be mindful also of whom you're hiring to come in and take care of your home or work on home related things or fix home. The sixth house can also be about mortgages. So I could see some of you guys going, okay, we want to move. How do we move? How much do we want to pay? So you're reevaluating, you know, what home costs and what maintenance and other things might kind of come into play with a living situation. Sixth house Saturn can be about pets. It can also be about health-related issues of family members or relatives. Now, at the other end of this, we've got, you know, the Sun and Mercury moving through your 10th house. So this is like big career time, showing up, putting things out in the world, getting things done. And the fourth house full moon might bring about some kind of need in your personal life or in your home life. Maybe you're feeling like you just kind of want to be at home, or you want to be retreating or just relaxing with your family or your pets. But there's so much going on work-wise that you're being pulled into that area of your life, and it's just really big right now. What's interesting also at this time is that you're going to see trines to Jupiter and Uranus in your 8th. So the full moon is saying, okay, I can tap into my past, I can tap into my roots, into my relationships with my family members, into with my ancestors, and create some really significant financial, emotional, spiritual changes. So this is also the energy of like clearing things out. So some of you guys are going, we're going to buy a house, we're going to renovate it, we're going to make more money. Or, you know, we're willing to move or make a change and allow that to get us into a place where we're making an investment potentially into a new property or to a new real estate. Now, Libra, at the end of this year, you're going to have a Mercury retrograde. So this could be the beginning process of you thinking about doing this. This may not be coming until closer to December or January. Some of you guys are exploring and trying to figure out where you want to move. So you have a little bit of time until this plays out. I think as Saturn retrogrades, it's about reevaluating your schedule and what you do and do not have time for, and what changes need to happen either health-wise or with your career to make it possible for you to have a better work-life balance. Okay? Let's take a look. Let's see what the cards say. The card that I get for you is the Queen of Swords. Oof. So I have a feeling, especially if this could be you, Libra. Okay, so Libra, air. Queen of Swords is somebody who's really direct and really open, and they'll tell you what's on their mind. The way that they communicate is like, here it is. So this can be you being like, I need to tell my family what's up, or I need to have a conversation with a landlord, or my sister's driving me crazy, or, you know, I need to tell my boss that I need a break because I got stuff going on at home. Use your words and be direct and be clear. That's the best advice I can give you. On the flip side, it is possible that there can be like a interaction that you can be having with a relative, especially if they happen to be a Libra, Aquarius, or Gemini, that can be a little fierce. So be mindful of that can be coming up. Can be male or female, but it's about you having better ways of communicating with them. I'm going to go out on a limb here. It may be a little difficult because Mercury is at the top part of your chart, and you want to communicate with them in a way that's loving, but also direct and more Saturnian. And you may have somebody who's just like not having it and they don't want to hear it. So good luck with this, Libra. Choose your words wisely, please. We got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. What's going on, Scorpio? We are experiencing a full moon in Capricorn. That'll be taking place on the 3rd of July in your 3rd house of communication. This is kind of like a hodgepodge house. Communication, vehicles, siblings, something that you're learning, something in regards to social media, something that you're putting online or you're sharing with other people. It can also be about trips. Okay, Scorpio, so a full moon taking place in your 3rd house is going to highlight all of these topics. And Saturn is the ruler of this particular moon, and it's located in your 5th house. So for starters, it is possible that you're having conversations with relatives. It could be aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings, okay? Talking to them about some of your creative projects can come up. There can also be a sense of you really focusing on a creative project and finding your voice, trying to find a way to accurately or appropriately express yourself, or, you know, finding a way to be able to put all the finishing touches on a creative project, putting it on a website, putting it up for sale, creating all of the information, the text relating to that so people can see what it is that you have created. It may also be about a vehicle. You know, third house can be about vehicles and it can be about travel. And the fact that this is in a sextile to Saturn makes me feel like some of you guys might be going on like a getaway for the holiday if you live here in the States. It can be romantic because you have Saturn in Pisces. So you might be getting away and being by the sea or by the ocean, maybe by pools. And it can be like a great opportunity for a romantic weekend. It can also be a time where you're reevaluating things relating to your childhood, journaling with your inner child to better express yourself. There may be conversations that you're having with a romantic partner or a significant other, also involving children, because Saturn is retrograding in the 5th house of children back into the 4th. So there can be some conversations of how do we better educate our kids? Do we want to have kids? How do we, communicate with our kids better? And if it's not children, it can be romantic partners. That's the other way that we can look at it. And what I like is that, the moon in the 3rd house, Capricorn is an energy that sextiles you, Scorpio. It's supportive. So the name of the game with Scorpio rising is that everything is constantly changing and transforming. Your whole life is about really overcoming some of these changes in scenery and situations and where you're living. And you may feel like you have many lifetimes in one particular life. So if you notice, like every 7 years or so, 5 to 7 years, your life changes pretty significantly. And what's going on right now is that you have the full moon that's sextiling your sun, moon, or rising. You have Saturn that's trining your sun, moon, and rising. So these are wonderful aspects to start talking about. How do I better express myself? What's going to make me feel the most loved? What can I give love to? What can I grow? And also the support that you have of partners, because the full moon is going to be making a trine to the North Node and Jupiter and Uranus to some extent in your 7th house. So it's really saying that relationships can get better as a result of just being more open and talking about things in a way that can still be practical, and it can involve timing and strategy and planning. And likely you're getting a lot of support from a business partner, a professional partner, a spouse, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. Because Jupiter in the 7th house trine this moon is saying, you have a conversation with them, you say, is this possible? And they're like, yes, anything is possible, we can do this. All we need to do is just believe that it can kind of come to fruition, and this is how great it can be. And what you'll find is that even though it can be kind of agitating because it's the opposite sign, and Scorpio is gonna go, how is it possible? And how do we afford this? And how do we do that? The moon, which is trining your ascendant at the time, the sun in Cancer, which is trining your ascendant and sextiling your 7th house and trining Saturn, is talking about the bigger picture. So don't get kind of lost in the nitty-gritty of all the details right now. It's more about, okay, how do we see the big picture come together, and how do we look at things more positively? 3rd house can mean that you're signing something, agreeing to something, having a conversation, getting a prominent email, something that's about the bigger picture of your life, okay? All right, so let's see what the cards say. And that really makes sense for me, Scorpio. I mean, Venus is about to go retrograde here in this next month in your 10th house, and you're really reevaluating your identity out in the world in general. I think with Venus retrograde, many people will change relationships, change careers, and change their perspective when it comes to what their purpose or their goals are in their life. Oh, I love this. Get the 6 of Cups for you, Scorpio. So this is the soulmate card. You guys know I'm not crazy about that word. But that's what this is. And this is about being able to kind of connect with something in a very innocent fashion. Very much it's about childhood and play and creativity and like what is more innocent, and having connections to people that are getting you on the path of where your soul needs to go. This can be about reflecting on the past, but it's saying that you're reflecting on sweeter times and allowing that to incentivize you to actually want to move forward. So in some ways it can be about creating memories, right? Creating memories with people. Saturn's in your 5th house right now, so it definitely wants to feel the love. And as it retrogrades, I think it's having you reflect on your childhood and be asking yourself, how can I be better to myself as an adult? Or how can I better connect to my kids? How can I not allow previous experiences in love or my childhood hold me back or keep me from doing some of these things that I want to be doing in my life? Good luck, Scorp. All right, so we've got Sag and Sag rising. you'll be having a full moon in your natal second house in Capricorn. And the second house is all about your resources, your self-esteem, your spending power, the money that you have in hand, and your possessions, okay? So second house full moon, kind of similar to Gemini. We can see lots of financial themes that are coming up here. I definitely think that a full moon in the second house can be about a big purchase. It can be about spending money on something, acquiring something of luxury, right? That's definitely kind of coming up. And the moon is the ruler of the 8th house. So to have that come in, there seems to be like a lot of, once again, money coming in, money going out. What people give you and what you end up obtaining from them. So whether it's like the bonus that you get or the tax refund that you get or the tip that you get and like what you spend that money on. Moon in Capricorn in the second makes me feel like it can be about financial matters relating to work and career. And for many of you Sag risings, you guys are busy. Jupiter, North Node, Uranus in the 6th. Some of you guys have started another job. Maybe you have more than one. Maybe you have a new job. There's a new schedule going on, something like that. So there's lots of work being done. So a full moon in the second house can be like, oh yeah, the paychecks are coming in and you're reaping the benefits of the hard work that you are doing. So you're starting to look around and go, wow, this is really going to be a really positive time. This is life-changing. It's making me feel more fulfilled with my resources. And also you've got all this energy in the 8th house where it gives you more emotional security, knowing that this is now the shift that's been going on with your financial life. Do surprises sometimes come up with full moons in the 2nd or the 8th house? Yes. But this particular full moon makes a sextile to Saturn, which is stabilizing. And it does make me feel like some of the money and the resources that you're bringing in are being funneled into your home or your family. So some of you guys are working extra or odd jobs so you can pay the bills and you're going to feel less stress with this aspect. Some of you guys are doing this because you want to help or support relatives who need that support. Some of you guys are going, we're making money because we're saving money because we want to get into a bigger apartment or we want to buy a house or we want to buy land. That might be part of the goal because the 2nd house is possession and the 4th house is real estate. And Saturn rules this particular full moon. And it's in a sextile to Saturn, and Saturn is sextile Jupiter, which is your planet. So there's something going on where you're like, I believe I can, I'm worth this much, this is my goal, this is the foundation that I'm building, and this is how it's gonna happen. Now, on the other hand, expenses relating to home can come up, okay? So property taxes, there's a leak or something going on with your plumbing, or your washer goes haywire, and you have to hire somebody to come in and you're like, okay, here's $600 because I got to fix this. And I say that because it's trining the 6th house, which can be about fix-it projects and things that require your attention. And definitely Saturn and Neptune in your 4th house brings issues with water. I know I have that in Italy. So if these things are going on, know that it can be remedied, it can be fixed. Some things are going to be worth paying the money for to fix them right, or having quality things within the home that you need. For some of you guys also, because it trines Jupiter, it's about raising your prices, changing your diet, changing what you're eating, changing something about your physical routine. And I've seen some Sag and Sag risings that have been wanting to invest more money on like pools or spas or even like home equipment or equipment that has screens so you can work out at home. So that could be something else that you guys are doing here as well. Now we can't look at the full moon in the 2nd house without looking at the sun and the Mercury in the 8th house. And what's interesting is that this does bring energy from other people, joint resources from other people. The sun is conjunct Mercury, so it looks like you're going to be having a conversation with another person about your budget, your spending habits, how much money you have, what you're paying off, what you owe. But it can also be a conversation that you have about, well, how much do we want to spend on the next place that we go to, and how much, can we kind of build if we bring our resources together. And somebody might be wanting to talk to you also about acquiring loans. So some of you guys are going to be thinking, well, can I apply for a home loan? Can I, rework my mortgage and get a better interest rate? I don't know if you can get that right now. Some of you guys might also be looking at like consolidating your debt. These are things that might come up during the time of like a full moon here. But for the most part, I think it's about getting stable and solid in regards to your finances, your home, and your family. And even if it requires a little bit of work, for the most part, it looks like this is positive. It looks like all of your hard work is finally starting to pay off. So some of you guys might see a nice payoff or paycheck that may potentially come from this period. Ooh, I like it. So we get the Knight of Wands, which could actually be you, Sag. This is about a fire sign. So Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Knight of Wands can be one of these people coming into your life or you, but it's about being on the move. It's about making things happen. This can be about news coming very quickly, especially in regards to a creative project or something in regards to movement. I'm looking at the full moon in the second, and it's like, oh, there could be news that, hey, you're actually getting, more money back than you thought you were going to get, or you're actually getting a bigger bonus than you anticipated, or suddenly you're deciding that you want to spring on spending some money on a trip or making an investment into something. Because, like I said, it's connected to Saturn, it seems like it's more connecting to your home. So it might just mean that you make a financial decision like on a whim, and you're just like, yeah, whatever, I'll pay for it, rather than like taking time to really think it through. But thankfully you have some pretty positive aspects, and it does actually look like it's going to be a good investment. It's just about thinking on your feet. Good luck. We have now got Capricorn and Cap rising. What's up, Cappy? We're going to have a full moon that's going to be taking place in Capricorn, in your sign, in your first house. And this is a big one because it's in your sign. So think back to since, like, let's say Christmas of 2022. That's when we had a new moon in your sign. Setting intentions in regards to your appearance, yourself, your body, your personal goals. And here we are 6 months later, and now that's coming to a completion. So it's bringing the attention back to yourself. The moon in your first house can have you moody. It can have you more aware of your emotions. And the moon rules your 7th house of relationships. So it's interesting, as you have Sun and Mercury going through the 7th, it's a lot of relationship stuff. And then you've got moon in your first house opposing all of this. So there can be a sense of just drawing in a lot more attention. People see you, they're communicating with you, they're connecting with you because the moon is others and them having something to say. So it's not unusual for like family to be reaching out, people to walk right up to you at a bar, for you to be getting more recognition at work, for people to just like see you more because it's really illuminating your appearance. Total makeovers, changes, before and afters, stuff like that kind of comes with full moons in the first house, especially because within a day, the moon is going to conjunct Pluto, and it's about realizing where you have changed or you've transformed, hopefully for the better, because if it's not, then it's going to be about you reacting in some ways that can be rather intense, or telling people like, give me my space, or I need this, or I need that. With others, and you'll see this more the second half of July as the nodes change signs and the sun comes into an opposition with Pluto. For some of you guys with a full moon in your first house, it is possible that there can also be a completion of a relationship where you and another person are talking about whether or not you're going to go to the next step or if you're going to call it quits. There can also be a pregnancy. I've seen a lot of people with full moons in the first house in aspect to their 5th house that produces a pregnancy. Now, at the time, Saturn, which is not just the ruler of the moon, but your ruler, is in the 3rd house. So it tells me that it's going to all be about how you communicate. Saturn in the 3rd can have you like being cautious with how you communicate. You're like really thinking things through and feeling into it before you give a response to someone. So maybe you take a little bit more time before calling people back, or responding to a text message, or responding to an email. Saturn retrograde means that you're re-evaluating how you think and how you talk about your self-esteem and also your resources. And I like the fact that Saturn trines the 7th house. It makes me feel like you can overcome challenges in relationship dynamic through being cool, calm, and collected and sitting down to have a conversation in a mature way. I also really like the trines to your 5th house because it makes me feel like it can bring about more happiness, more joy, more opportunities for love, romance, meeting people if you're single, growing your family if you want to, you know, being able to go deeper in relationships if you're already committed. So this is really positive in a sense of the trines to your 5th house. I feel like as a Capricorn rising, you bring in people who are softer, more mature, more, excuse me, not immature, but more sensitive, more feminine. Even if you date men, like if you're a Capricorn woman, you know, Capricorn rising woman, you're going to bring in men that are going to be softer, right? If you date men. So Cancer on the descendant with Sun and Mercury is like wanting to talk about home and family and the future and this and that. And you're like, okay, like that's a lot, right? But what you're going to realize is that other people can come in and help support you in finding your happiness, finding your sense of creativity, helping you really nurture something. So it can be a really wonderful time where like the 1st and the 7th house, both for Cancer and Capricorn risings, are really going to see like where the two sides can be complementary. They don't have to be separate. The only hang up that I have, once again, is on the 4th, when you see the Moon and Pluto come together, likely what's going to happen is there's going to be some emotional pressure that you're going to feel, and you're going to realize, I have to change, or I have to let this go, or that version of me is now completing and I'm getting ready to move to the next version of me. I would just encourage you for the next couple of months, really between now and the beginning of 2024, start tracking when the moon goes through Capricorn, because as soon as it hits Pluto, you're going to constantly once a month feel that several hour period where you're like, oh my God, I can't take it, the pressure. And you'll be aware of it, and it's going to spare you from having some friction in relationships with other people. Anything is possible through communication, you know, walking to clear your head, listening to podcasts, maybe doing a little journaling, can all be really positive, productive ways to clear your mind before sitting down and having a conversation with somebody about matters of the heart. And for those of you guys who are open to better self-expression, more creativity, more love, this is a wonderful full moon for that. The card that I get for you is the Queen of Coins. Thank Goddess. Look at that little cherub baby with like the goat. I love this for you because the Queen of Coins is you, right? It is about the nurturing, sensual growth and, you know, stability side of the coins. It's about mastering that. So for many of you guys, it's about stepping into that nurturing side, stepping into that feminine side. Even if you're a man watching this, it's about embodying that and nurturing that and seeing the beautiful side of that particular theme coming through your chart. I feel like it's about doing your due diligence to show your emotions, even though it may not be easy. Leaning more into them and realizing that other people are kind of drawing that out of you right now. And you can collaborate and co-create within the 5th house. So it can be a date, it can be an art project, it can be having a kid that can allow there to be more richness that can come through in certain relationships. But also this is about creativity, what you're growing, what you're developing. So businesses and creative projects can come through, which can be abundant because the Queen of Coins is all about business and knowing exactly what she needs to do in order to make her garden grow. Okay? Good luck. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You'll be having a lovely full moon in Capricorn taking place in your 12th house. And the 12th house, what can we say about that? It is hidden, it is private, it is healing, it's subconscious, it's in a back room somewhere, it's in your bedroom, it's in a dream. So the 12th house is very private, it is very spiritual, it can be things relating to your past life. Having a full moon here is always going to be in opposition to the sun in the sign of Cancer in your 6th, which is all about where there's some health related things going on or scheduling changes or work things shifting. That's putting your attention into the natal 12th house. So I would say this obviously to Leo as well as Aquarius, you have to pay attention to your health. More for you, Aquarius, it's about your sleep patterns, your subconscious, your mental health, your dreams. where some of that is actually getting kind of shaken up as a result of shifts that are going on in your daily routine. Now, for many Aquarius and Aquarius risings, it's just needing to rest and recuperate more. You might find that it's a day or two where you're like, I got to go to bed early, I got to sleep in, because the moon can deal with those natural cycles in the 12th house. And because the moon is connected to your schedule and it's in the 12th, it might just be a natural shift that you see in terms of when you're eating, when you're sleeping, or maybe there are some, schedule changes going on at work. Now, the subconscious emotional state can affect the physical. So this is where if you're not processing or taking time to heal, rest, or recuperate, it can have an impact on your physical health. So if you start to see one of those two things that are kind of getting into a bit of a funk, you need to kind of find the balance between the two. Now, the moon rules the 6th house of helpers and healers and supporters, and it's in the 12th, coming into close proximity with Pluto. It'll be about a day later, but I kind of feel like this is about some of you guys needing to go to a healing center or needing to see a specialist or maybe going to a doctor's appointment. Obviously, touch wood. It can also be seeing a therapist, seeing a shaman, going to a hypnotherapist, talking with somebody and getting a reading. These can all be things that come up as a result of this particular full moon because it's trying to kind of ease your emotional concerns about where things are going in the future and what you may or may not have control over. Now, just recently, Pluto left your sign, went back into Capricorn where it's in the 12th house. So it's kind of saying, hey, we need to go back into the 12th, re-strategize, release some things, let some things go before Pluto comes back at the beginning of 2024. So for you, it's actually a bit of a reprieve. And Saturn, which is also important because this is your traditional ruler, is the ruler of this particular lunation, and it's in your 2nd house in a sextile. So this is saying that there's things going on that you're resting, recuperating, and healing from that's going to better either help your finances or help your self-esteem. So it is possible some of you guys are going through some stuff where you're like, I just need to feel better. I just need to be getting my act together so I feel like I can really show up and be more physically present. Saturn retrograde in the 2nd house does make me feel like you're reevaluating something in regards to your resources, your needs, and your own personal beliefs about yourself. So this makes me definitely feel like either on a personal level or on a physical level, you're healing something at the time of this full moon. So take it easy, give yourself a little bit of time. Know that with Saturn's sextile to Jupiter in your 4th house, you should have a place to kind of lay your head down, a place to rest and recuperate, family to be around you to kind of help and champion you on if you do need a little bit of downtime. And the willingness to kind of make some of these, to scale back a little bit, whether this is with spending or with what you're eating or with your time, or if you're just trying to work more so on your self-esteem. You have some kind of supporting cast here. So it could be a relative or a roommate or even a partner that you live with that's kind of just championing you and kind of supporting you through what can be a time where you're feeling like you're kind of emotionally or spiritually questioning some stuff. And you'll feel definitely as the moon starts to come the next day or two into your sign, it'll sit on your ascendant and then it'll square the nodes. And that's going to be important for you because there is going to be some emotions that are going to come up. So I would just say, just observe, pay attention to what's happening. And you'll definitely start to feel it also as it squares Uranus. So likely there's some changes that are going on with your body. You might be a little moody, might hit you right after the full moon. The card that I got for you is the Ace of Swords. I love this, especially because Libra also got like a sword energy. So you guys are really kind of tapping into your air energy right now and focusing on how to better express yourself. Aces are new beginnings, new chapters. So sometimes when we have like a full moon in the 12th house, it's like, okay, well that happened, right? It's like, that's done, like that's in the past. Now we got to let certain things go. We got to cut or sever them out. So I could see that with the Ace of Swords is like a new defining moment where you're just like, all of these things got cut. Now we need to move forward and we need to start new. This would be a good moon to do that, to be honest with you, because the next full moon we're going to have is going to be in your sign. So realize that when that's coming in about a month or so, there's going to be big energies going on. A full moon in your sign in opposition to Venus, square to Uranus, is going to be colorful. Let's just leave it at that. Because there's going to be so many things changing on the home front. So what I think is really kind of coming up with the Ace of Swords is tapping into your natural Aquarian energy, knowing when to be like, I need to go my own way, or I need to let this loose, or I don't have to carry this anymore. And really paying attention to your words. Some of you guys might start writing something. Some of you guys might be writing notes, or starting new contracts, or agreeing to something, or something in regards to, you know, your ideas getting out there into the world. It may be beneficial for you to get some guidance, because I could see how this is like a moon where if you get a reading with somebody and they talk to you about what may be kind of playing out over these next few weeks, you're going to go, okay, I know certain things are going to end. I am going to be ready for that and prepare myself. And I'm going to kind of stay focused with my eyes on the prize, knowing that the things that are ending are making way for these new opportunities. And Ace of Swords is what you're learning. It's what you think, what you have to say, what you're sharing with the world. So consider this moon kind of just like a clearing, right? That might feel a little uncomfortable, and it's definitely going to test your security and your self-esteem. It may test your finances here briefly, but it's not going to be anything that's going to break the bank. All right, so let's take a look and see. And I definitely think it's health related. I'm looking at your Sun and your Mercury in Cancer and your 6th, quincunx your ascendant. I think some of you guys are definitely going through some health or schedule changes. The card that I get is the 6 of coins. I love this because, like I said, I can see that even while you're kind of going through something, you've got people who have your back. The trines to Jupiter, Uranus, and your 4th should not be disregarded. Actually, this is going to be supporting. It means that you've got family, you've got ancestors, you've got some kind of spiritual support team that's like helping you out. 6 of coins is give and take, so it's about what you put out and what you receive and knowing when to ask for help. And maybe you're somebody who's very generous and you're a giver, and you're going through a period where you need to learn to accept assistance. Maybe you're somebody who's used to getting support and now you're realizing it's time for me to give back. It's about that give and take in life and being mindful of when you're getting support to pay it forward. And also, if you're not so great with asking for help, or you kind of stay in your own lane, opening yourself up to receiving some kind of support, because it can help you through what can be a difficult time. Good luck, Aquarius. And we've got Pisces and Pisces rising. What's going on, Pisces? We've got a full moon taking place in Capricorn in your natal 11th house. Well, I anticipate this could be a really great party, although it's probably going to be like a work mixer or a function where there's like a number of like older people there, but still, nevertheless, I think you could have a good time. A full moon in the 11th house, we reevaluate friendships, we evaluate our goals, we evaluate also just where and who our friends are, right? So a full moon here can bring you guys together. You can find yourself going to a party, going to a gathering, going to a mixer, a get together. And this is going to be with the moon in Capricorn, and the moon is the ruler of your 5th house, of your creativity, your joy, your happiness, your children. So there could be like kids' birthday parties. You could be throwing a party for somebody. You could be going out with a group of friends and bringing your significant other. There can be a sense of just like celebrating. And you do have the Sun and Mercury in your 5th house as well. So this is also about love and creativity for you. Maybe it's about what you're sharing with a group of people. If you're somebody who's thinking about giving like a professional proposal or presentation, this can be a really good time to do that if you're sharing it with a group of people, or maybe you're sharing it like with a group of people digitally. And Saturn is the ruler, okay? And Capricorn also sextiles your ascendant. So this energy of focusing on your goals and some like group work or presentation does funnel into your Pisces sun, moon, or rising placements. Specifically, this is a little bit late because I'm moving the wheel, but you're going to see that this full moon is going to come in right around 11 degrees. So it's going to be sextiling sun, moon, rising anywhere from about 10 to 12 degrees. And it'll be slightly sextiling Saturn. And Saturn is the ruler, like I said. Saturn's on your ascendant, retrograde. So To me, this is saying that you are the one maybe going back and saying, I need to reconnect with that friend group, right? Or I need to call them back, or I need to rejoin that union, or I need to reconnect with that online group. And you're reevaluating your goals. Maybe you're assessing some of your friend groups and some of your relationships, and there can be a sense of you going like, I don't know if I want to, interact with that person much anymore. Maybe I need some space. And it can also be where other people are recognizing your talent. So you could be in a room full of other people, but other people are going to see you. They're going to walk up to you. They're going to want your feedback maybe, right? With Saturn being on your 11th house, Saturn being in your first house, relating to your 11th house, some of you guys are the ones throwing the parties, starting the groups. If you're like, I can't find an association for what I want, start one. Start a Facebook group, start an online group, start a Discord. You may be the ringleader with Saturn in your first house being like, I'm the person who's going to go and start this and create this gathering or this meeting of people. And it's likely going to be either for professional networking, or it can be about, creative or spiritual endeavors. I could definitely see some of you guys also being like, I'm going to go redo my resume and put it online, and connect with professional networking sites as a means to try to kind of get recognized. Now that maybe you feel like you've had more experience, or maybe you've completed higher levels of education, now you're more interested in like, putting yourself out there and seeing if there could be new professional opportunities for you. Now, what I like about this is because Saturn is the ruler and it's in your first house, this is all the success is going to be built off of what you're reworking. And Saturn is also going to sextile Jupiter, which is your traditional chart ruler. So to have Saturn sextile Jupiter is essentially saying, as long as you're showing up, you're on time, you're committed, you're looking the part, you're put together, right? And you're well-spoken, you're going to have opportunities to travel, to write more, to learn, to communicate with others, to expand podcasts or blogs or YouTube channels, but it's going to be as a result of you joining others. So especially if you want to have a YouTube channel, this might be a good time to consider launching it, honestly, because you're also going to see that Mercury is kind of in a trine with Saturn. So Mercury is finally out of Gemini. It's not squaring all of that stuff anymore. Now it's going to trine Saturn, and it's also going to trine Neptune. So if you want to put your personal talents out there and you want it to be seen, this might be a really good time to do that. And it may benefit you to network a little bit with other people. Let's take a look and see what the cards say. Oh, of course, Tarot's sassy today. I was almost thinking before I pulled the card, and I was like, should I say this? And I was like, no, I'm going to pull the card. Saturn retrograde in your first house. If you guys have not been socializing, if you have been hiding out, if you have not been connecting with your friends, this is up to you to go and make those connections, right? Because Saturn in the first house can have you kind of feeling like you're lost at sea and you're just like, I want to be alone. And with the retrograde, you're looking back and you're like, wait a second, where have I been kind of hiding out or isolated? Maybe it's been several years of you doing this. And now you're kind of like, well, I'm the Lone Ranger. So obviously, Hangman, this is about you kind of feeling like you're kind of stuck in a situation and you don't know how to make a change. This is about breaking out of that. Not taking too long to be in this situation and letting too much time go by before you connect with the people or the groups that are the most important to you that can be helping you. The earth and the water signs really benefit from this. I mean, seriously, Pisces, because you happen to have a sextile to your ascendant and you got a bunch of trines to your ascendant as well. And then the sextiles to Jupiter. There is no excuse for Cancer and Scorpio and Pisces to not be getting the show on the road. You guys all have these water trines, which is great if you want to be, connected and tapped in and intuitive. But you need earth to actually make things move. So for you, it's getting out there and socializing a little bit can be really good, and it can kind of get those creative and communicative juices flowing again. So you're really feeling like anything that you're hoping to put out into the world can have a little bit more traction because maybe you're getting feedback or you're aligning yourself with other people who are wanting to do some of the very same things that you're kind of putting out there. Hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Like I said, I'm kind of like a realist with astrology. I'm not going to be somebody who's going to candy coat these things, but I really like this full moon. I'm really excited for all of the potential. If you guys haven't already seen me talk about the picture, maybe I'll bring it up one more time. My horrible little photo skills. The picture that I had of the pot and the plant and the seed and all of the stuff, where I talk about how it's essentially building all of this support system for the seeds of the North Node, Jupiter and Taurus plant to grow. Now this is where all the nurturing and the watering and everything comes in from all these Cancer placements. That's going to start watering the intentions we've been setting since the spring, so it can grow exponentially into something big and beautiful and abundant come next year. So we are now in the nurturing phase. This is what we've been building. How do we feel? So even though it's a Capricorn moon and you wouldn't necessarily connect that to emotions, emotions play a huge role in helping us better make decisions about how we'd like to be spending our time, what we want to be doing for a living, what our true goals are in life outside of our careers and what we're supposed to be doing for work. I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know below, especially if you were born on a full moon. If you have this polarity, if you're sun in Cancer, moon in Capricorn, I'd love to hear your hot takes on this. Do you have your birthday during the full moon? If you do, happy birthday. It's going to be a very interesting one for you. If you're born anywhere around like the 2nd through the 4th, these energies are going to be built into your solar return. Definitely a good time to get a reading so you just see how many big things are going to be taking place throughout this year. Yeah, and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You guys can catch me back here on Thursday. I'm going to be putting out the July horoscopes for you so we can talk all about the energies of next month. And if you guys like my content and you would like to learn astrology, I teach astrology, beginner's astrology. I also teach an advanced astrology as well as tarot. I am also now selling my Venus retrograde in Leo webinar. I have that playback link available on my website. Check out my website below at beyondtheveiledtarot.com. You can go over there, sign up for my newsletter so you're alerted as to when I have new content coming out for classes and also products that I'm getting ready to be rolling out here sometime between now and the fall. We've got lots of things that we're going to start putting out there for you guys, and I'm really excited. I don't want to jinx it yet. Saturn's retrograde, but it's going to be coming soon, and I'm really stoked for that. What else? And you can catch me here on Fridays. So on Fridays we do live readings. This week is going to be tarot. I'll be posting a link for that here shortly, probably on Thursday. And if you want to book a personalized reading with me, my sessions are a combination of Western astrology and tarot, as well as what I see clairvoyantly. I have openings starting in August and September. So if you want to book a reading with me, go to my website, check out my calendar. You guys can see it live. You can book with me. I also have gift certificates if you want to do that and gift that for somebody who is a lover of astrology. All right, that's it. Enjoy the full moon. I know it's still a little ways away. Please be careful with those firecrackers. I don't want to see any of those horror stories on my news feed. And I will see all of you guys very soon. Take care.